Awkward Girl 6. Clumsy. I've mentioned already in a couple of videos, sorry, that I'm very clumsy and uncoordinated and have no sense of balance. Well, that it's like I am clumsy on an unbelievable level. And I fall down a lot, even like one of my past jobs, my coworkers actually like started just getting so used to seeing me at least trip or fall or walk into something at least once a day that if I actually went a whole day without doing something clumsy, the day just wasn't complete, and they would tease me or else or try and get me distracted to just kind of get me to trip or just do something clumsy just because it just, I don't know, it was the day just wasn't a day. It just wasn't right if I just fall down or just embarrass myself somehow. I cannot text and walk at the same time at all. I always end up walking into stuff like fences, stop signs, telephone poles, people, like bushes. So yeah, if I'm walking, my phone is in my pocket and not in front of my face because I'm been I do not need to add risk or more make me more, yeah, I mean add more of a risk to me getting hit by more vehicles because I've been hit by four now since I've moved to the city in the past 10 years. The first three times were within the first 3 years I was living here, and twice at the same crosswalk too. Every single time though, I was not jaywalking. I was following the guys at the right crosswalk and waited for the pedestrian crossing lights and the stop lights to go for and look both ways before moving. But people just don't, when I got about halfway or almost all the way across the road, that's when the vehicles would end up just kind of coming up out of nowhere and not stopping and not paying attention. At least one woman stopped. The first two were hit and runs. The first woman, I actually got ran over. And that surprisingly didn't hurt. As much as I would expect, getting run over by a minivan and having every bone in my foot broken hurt. But no, it actually was fine. I just sat on the curb, trying to console her while eating ice cream. And yeah, and then what else have I done that's clumsy? Oh, I've been on pretty much a steady roll of broken bones and injuries ever since I was 16 months old. When I was a year and a half, or just almost a year and a half, I climbed up onto my kitchen table when my mom and dad were both not looking. My mom was doing dishes. My dad left the room for a second, and so I wasn't allowed to climb up onto the table. So this is my opportunity, and I was taking it. So I climbed up onto the table, and I thought my mom was kind of I was looking down the part of the kitchen that kind of because it was an L shape, and looking down and watching to see if she was gonna she was gonna end up catching me, but she was just kind of moving sideways to put some dishes in the dish drainer or something, but I thought she was gonna look over and catch me or see me on the table. So instead of just climbing down the table the same way I climbed up, I jumped off of it and landed belly flopped right into the floor on top of my arm. And then just kind of my mom got a little freaked out. And she's like, "Oh my god, you're okay?" I was like, "Ouch," and just walked away fine. So she thought I was okay. And then the next morning, she noticed how swollen and bruised my arm was, and she felt terrible because I didn't show any signs of being in pain or whatever, just because I just got up and started playing again. But yeah, that's when I broke my first bone, broke my right arm. Before I even caught my arm was still broken and in a cast, I fell down my babysitter stairs and cracked my head open. Right, you can still see the scar. Cracked my head open and needed stitches for my first time. And then right after my arm healed up and I was out of my cast, I fell up my aunt's stairs and hit my face on her steps and broke my nose for the first time. All before us too. Yeah, my poor mom. She was just stressed right out. And she was heavily pregnant with my sister too. What else have I done? I've since then I've been on a steady roll. I break I break at least 2 bones a year. The most bones I broke in 1 year was 37, and that was when I got ran over. And also, like, but a week before then, I fell and fractured my left hand. So I couldn't use crutches properly, even though like the doctors gave me crutches to use on a broken hand. I've broken every single one of my toes multiple times each, like so many times that some of them were like permanent broken, and like now the circulation in my toes is just like so messed up and so terrible that in the winter, like especially like if I'm back home in the winter because it's really cold up there, my toenails will actually end up falling off because like there's no circulation to keep them attached to my toes. Like it doesn't hurt, they just kind of like get too cold because there's no blood flowing in my feet or my toes, and then they just kind of pop off and then they grow back. Most recent clumsy thing I did was fall on the bus. I've done that countless times too, and I dislocated my knee again. My knees are both just right trashed from all the times I've fallen down and injured them. Like one time I even had like the first stages of gangrene in it because I fell down a really long flight of heavily dirtied, like carpeted stairs because it was like New Year's and people were wearing their outdoor shoes like up and down them all night, so they're all slushy and have gravel and salt and everything else like embedded in them. And I got to the very top, dropped to my knees, or like I missed a step and then falling to my knees, and somehow managed to go all the way down to the very bottom of the flight of stairs, just on my knees, stayed up, managed to somehow not tumble backwards, and yeah, I ended up getting a really bad rug burn on my knee, and ended up getting really infected and had the first stage of it. Gangrene started, like it was like foaming green slime and smelled all weird. I fell off a cliff and messed up my spine permanently when I was 14. Yeah, like I've just messed myself up. I'm surprised I'm in one piece. Still, like, I don't know how I still have all my toes, especially like for how many times I've broken them. Like this year, like one was like broken and like right to the side, is like bent this way, like that's how I was sticking off my foot. Yeah, that sucked. But yeah, no. I'm always falling down in public. Like everyone who meets me like ends up like realizing pretty quickly that I'm just clumsy, and because like right away like they'll notice once I start walking around I'm gonna fall down. Like one time when my friends came over, was like the second time we hung out, and I slipped in my living room and in the fall slammed the side of my hip onto the corner of the table and ended up with this like wedge shaped like bruise like that covered like my entire leg. Oh, the best bruise and like the most intense and intimidating one I ever had was when I fell down another flight of stairs at a social, and it's like these hard plastic over concrete stairs, and I bounced and I hit every single one on every single step on the same spot on my leg. I had some guys running up and try picking me up because I hate being lifted up, and because like they was like, yeah, you definitely have a broken leg. I'm like, I'm all drunk. I'm like, I'll walk it off. And they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it now just because you said I can't. And just like pulled myself up and just dragged my leg away. It turned out my hip was broken. I found out 3 months later because I was just that stubborn that I was not going to the hospital at all just to prove I was right and I could walk off a broken leg. But the bruise was crazy, like all the way up, like literally from above my hip bone to almost my knee, like, and wrapped almost completely around my leg was so dark purple. It looked black in the center, and like it was giant and it was intimidating and it freaked people out, and I really wish I had a picture of it still, but I took a picture of it, and this was back before digital cameras, and I took it to Walmart to get it developed, and it got red flagged for freaking out the photo lab technicians. But I think this is enough, long enough for now. It's almost 10 minutes. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below and I will get to them as soon as I see them. Thanks. Bye.